Here's a couple of tips I've been using and thinking about when I started playing upright and moving from electric to upright. First, there's positioning and fingering. My technique in that sense is kind of homemade, I'm afraid to say. When I started playing bass, I've never had a teacher, so everything, my technique, is just what I figured out myself. And the technique I use on my upright is basically a lot of technique I used on my electric. So in essence, you should maybe not listen too much to me or my technique, but it works for me and maybe it'll work for you. And my philosophy is the fingers that's the closest to your note works. So I'll give you an example. In traditional upright technique, you don't use this finger, but I use it anyway because it's close to where I want to play the note. For example, see how I use this note? Normally you're not allowed to it, but when I moved from electric to upright, it was very natural for me to use those fingers that I'm not allowed to use. And it works for me, maybe it'll work for you, so you should check it out. One of the great things about playing an upright bass is you have many, many ways of influencing the quality of the note you're playing. Not only the vibrato, but also your right hand can make a big difference. I found out that the more skin, the more meat that pull the string, the more fat your note would be. So I tend to play more. If I play solo, I play a little more like this. It'll give me a more precise sound. But when I do comping, I want to be more fat, more funky, more groovy. Then I try to play with more meat on the strings. For example, notice when I play the really low strings, I use my entire finger. As opposed to if I only used my electric technique, it would be as opposed to, you know, so it's about getting the funk, the fat out of the notes. Use a lot of meat. Another really cool thing about playing the upright is, besides the electric, is where you position your note. There's a big difference, huge difference where you position your notes. For example, if you play, let's see, let's play a C here, and you play a C here. Can you hear the difference in note? So one thing I try to do when I play, I think that the bass sounds more beautiful the longer the string you have that can vibrate. So I try to play this way instead of playing this way. I'll play a C major scale so you can hear the difference. Here's what I would do on electric. That's how that sounds. And check out if I play really long. It rings more the longer the string is. So what I tend to do when I play, I practice everything this way. Maybe it's a little bit more complicated playing this way, but you'll get a more beautiful tone playing that way. Many people ask me about speed because they ask me how can I play fast on the upright and so on and so forth. And well, frankly, a lot of times when I play fast it's because I don't know what to play. But to address the subject, I've never really thought about how to play fast, but it's definitely something to do with your picking technique. And I know there's probably a lot of ideas out there that you should go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, but I think that whatever you hear and want to play, if you practice it first slowly and then faster and faster, it'll come really naturally. So all I can say is practice with a metronome and just go. If you want to play fast, just practice slowly, turn up the metronome quicker and quicker. One of the things I love doing on the upright is play funk. But it can be hard playing funk on upright. And the reason why is the upright bass, just the nature of the instrument, has a slower response time than an electric bass. When you play electric, you play boom. You get the note right away. The response time on an upright is slightly slower. And also, that means that when you play a funk groove, when you play funk and more backbeat-oriented music, you need your bass line to be more precise, more pointy. It's not, the beat is not as wide as when you play jazz. For example, when you play an F blues, it's kind of, the beat is kind of fat. But if you play a funk groove, it's got to be more precise. You see what I'm saying? And so how I obtained a more precise sound when playing funk is actually using more force, but trying not to play louder, because you still want to have control of the instrument, but you actually play harder. It's harder on your hand to play funk on upright, you know, because you can relax a little more and let the strings ring more when you play jazz. Jazz is... This is the kind of tone you want when you play jazz. But when you play funk, you want... You see what I'm saying? So it takes more power to play funk, but you can train it, you can get it, definitely. Just play what you hear. When you hear a funk groove and you want to play it on an upright, it'll come natural. But just don't be afraid if your hands hurt a little bit in the beginning. Then you'll be able to play.